My name is Poppy Vorvoroglu. I am a marine biologist and a penguin conservationist. I study penguins for 30 years now, so I work on something that is called penguin conservation, protecting the penguins and also protecting the places that penguins use in the ocean, but also on land.
What does it mean to be a penguin scientist?
So right now I am in Patagonia. It's the south part of a country called Argentina. Penguins here where I live, they are in their colonies on land. We can see them during 6 months, from September until April, because they come from the ocean and they come on land to build a nest. So I work in the places where they live. I check their nest. I see how the chicks are growing, the eggs, how many eggs they are laying. And I also do other research in order to protect them when I don't see them, because they spend a lot of time in the ocean. We do penguin tracking. So that means that we discover the routes that they follow in the ocean to look for food and eat by themselves. And a big part of our work is also to count penguins, to know how many penguins are there in each colony. We see if the colonies are growing or the numbers of penguins are decreasing.
Why do you research penguins?
I do research on penguins because when I was an adolescent in this area where I live, a lot of penguins died per year. 40,000 penguins died per year here because they get oiled with oil spills that got spilled by boats. When they get oiled in their feathers, they cannot go into the ocean to eat, so then they die. So at that moment, I decided to do research and to study, to go to the university in order to be able to help penguins better. Here in Argentina, first of all, you have to study 4 or 5 years and then you become a biologist. If you want to continue studying, you can become a doctor in biology. So you have more tools. I like to discover what are the problems that penguins are having. And with the science, I provide the solutions. What are the solutions to help them? I decided to go into the university to study biology. I studied here in Patagonia, then I studied to become a doctor in marine biology. But you know what? At some point, I realized that I wanted to do more for conservation. So I created GPS, which is Global Penguin Society. It is an organization that uses the science to protect the penguins, and we create something that is called marine protected areas. So those are places in the ocean where all the uses are controlled and ordered. We also do some actions in terms of education, like we do something that is called cleaning the house of the penguins. So we go before penguins come to start the breeding season and we remove all the plastics. So when the penguins come, everything is neat and tidy and safe. And we also do campaigns to make people aware of the plastic problem, what they can do to avoid the problem. We have partners like Disney or National Geographic, and it's very useful because we reach a lot of people in the world with our conservation message. I realized that to work in penguin conservation, I use everything. No, I don't use only what I learned as a biologist, but I use a lot of what I learned when I went to law school. Because when I try to protect the penguins, I behave like a penguin lawyer, like I use the science and I use the law to defend the penguins, So even if you decide to go into university and then you change your mind, it's fine. And everything will be very useful. It is not a wasted time. Everything that you learn, it is useful one way or another.
How many penguins do you research?
When we count penguins, that's really hard work, but I love that because we go with like 15 people and we count, it depends on the colony, but we count them all. We have to count all the nests that are occupied by penguins. And in 10 days, you end up counting about 100,000 pairs. So that's a hard work. It is funny, it is amazing work, but I think that is one of the harshest part of my work.
Why is it important to protect penguins?
Because the penguins, they have very special characteristics. Penguins do not fly, so that is a disadvantage because it's more difficult to them to get food in the ocean. They have to dive and they have to swim to get the food. Also because they only lay 1 egg or 2 eggs per year, so they have to protect the eggs. Another problem with the penguins is that they nest in colonies, so they are all together breeding. So all these things makes penguins more vulnerable, weaker, right? The good news is that the oil spills that kill penguins, that problem is pretty much solved. But now we have a problem with plastics. There are many places around the planet where you go to the beach and you find a lot of plastics from boats, but a lot of the plastics that people use. That is very difficult for a penguin because it is harder for them to swim. So we organize a lot of activities to clean the coast, to clean the penguin colonies and make the life of penguins easier.
How did you start working with penguins?
So my grandmother used to live here in this same area where I am here right now 100 years ago. The place is called Patagonia, and she used to visit the penguins with horses a long time ago. She helped me to connect with wildlife, with the penguins. She taught me to love and respect penguins. Thanks to her, I decided to dedicate my life to do research and help penguins working for their conservation. There was a very big oil spill here, and 17,000 penguins were affected. So I set up a rehabilitation center. That means I went to a place with friends and prepare the place to rescue penguins that were oiled, to cure them, to wash the oil out of their body and to feed them, and then release them back into the ocean.
How do they catch the penguins?
The nests can be placed under bushes, and sometimes they dig burrows, like they dig holes under the ground. So we have a kind of long hook. We grab the penguin from the leg. So I take the penguin out. Let me show you. With a hook, I grab the leg and I pull. So the penguin will go out of the nest like this. And when he goes out, I grab him from here. And then I grab the belly, and then I transport the penguin to the place. I put him back down on the ground, and I work with him.
Can you give examples of how you challenged yourself?
One of the biggest challenges is when I was invited to talk in New York to the United Nations Assembly. They were preparing something that is called an agenda, the plan of the United Nations. All the countries of the world were trying to make a plan to protect the planet. So my case was that it is important to protect the ocean because the oceans were never considered. So I went there were presidents and there were ambassadors, and I stood in front of all of them, speaking in English and trying to make my case, as I said before, mixing biology and the lawyer part. Of course, I'm afraid, but then I said, what do I lose? I have to do it. What is the worst thing that can happen? Fail, so what? I will learn something. So after you go through your challenge, you feel so strong and empowered that you have to try, you have to do it. I mean, we are all able to do what we dream about.
What is the biggest challenge facing penguins today, and how can people help?
Some challenges in the ocean can be climate change and also fisheries and pollution, plastic pollution. Some others are on land, like human disturbance, people that don't behave well and disturb penguins. So I think it is something that we can do every day is to try to reduce the number of pieces of plastics. It will stay in the environment for hundreds and hundreds of years. It is very important to know that before human beings, there were lots of wildlife, a lot of animals that were free and occupying all the places. They all need to live in a safe and healthy planet. That is why it is so important that people, all of us, we behave ourselves to avoid contamination and to also teach others to love and respect these animals.
What are some of the classes you can take when you're younger in order to become a marine biologist?
You can start like doing some research around the animals that live in your garden, in your backyard. You don't need to go to Antarctica to find wildlife. Wildlife is all around us, amazing wildlife. Pay attention to the birds, pay attention to the butterflies, the worms. Everything is amazing. Try to learn something about the animals that live in your house, in your garden, maybe about spiders. They are amazing because when you learn about an animal, you end up admiring them, the way the spiders do the spider web, the way the birds build their nests? How do they find their food? So try to connect with the species that is closer to you. And that is a really good way to start developing your skills. So as you grow older, you can study and go to university and become a biology. And the good thing about biology is that you can study from blue whales, giant blue whales in the ocean, down to little bacteria that you can only see in microscopes. All the living things in this planet are available to be studied, and they're waiting for you. I think that it is important to understand that you can do and you can be whatever you want to do and dream. The only thing is that you need to do some effort to have preparation, to study, to know more things about what your passion is. Don't be discouraged if you think you are not good enough, if you think you're not smart enough. You are very good, we are all smart, and sometimes it is not a matter of intelligence, it's a matter of persistence. Just move on, continue with your dream, follow your dream, and you will make it happen.